Attitudes Free Fare movement is a Brazilian movement. This is not prevent similar movements from happening around the world. Our focus in this work is not only to explain about the history, objectives and impacts of free fare movements, but also about our movements around the world, which share the same goal. A truly free and democratic collective transport that can successfully reach up the layers of society. We will approach the theme nationally and globally, showing the goals behind the movement and its impact in the world.
The MPL was constituted in a plenary held in January 2005 at the World Social Forum in Porto Alegre, from groups and demonstrators who carry out the struggle for free will in several Brazilian cities. The idea gave origin to the nationally articulate movement we know today has started from the Revolta da Catraca of Florianópolis, in which groups of students and workers occupied the streets to protest against the increase of 15% in the bus fares. The demonstrators were mostly peaceful, but this didn't prevent the harsh repression from the police force. Despite that, the protests were still successful, and after 10 days the increase was revoked. Another event that helped to give birth of free pass movement, research and development initiatives was the so-called Buzo Revolt. It was a popular mobilization, carried out by students without direction of parties or students' organizations, that took the streets of Salvador for about 3 weeks in 2003. The most common tactics during the manifestations were trying to stop the flow of the city traffic through the use of barricades on the streets and refusing to pay for the bus fare. Through the use of these tactics, the protest could successfully paralyze the city against the increase of the bus fares. The intensity of the increase wasn't changed, but the protest helped the students to gain the right to pay only half of a tariff price in weekends, and they kick-started the discussions about the right to public transport and the struggle for free pass.
The debates about mobility have peaked in the main metropolis of the world, more and more suffocated in every sense due to excess of vehicles. The big cities are turning to alternative means of transportation, and public transportation as a way to relieve this problem. In the city of Bristol, England, transport was one of the most expensive in the UK, until a group of militants realized that the only way to improve transport was to create their own. They began collecting donations. So after collecting £10,000, they used the money to buy a bus that would pass through the city in the loop passing through the center and the other place. They offered completely free bus rides, with only a box of donation inside it, in case someone decided to help the project. The donations collected in a single day were more than enough to keep the bus in circulation. Luxembourg Prime Minister Xavier Botel has started projects in the country that will make all public transport in the country totally free. This will make Luxembourg the first country in the world to do such thing. Luxembourg has shown over time a strong concern with the environment, which drove the project even further. Its capital has only 107,000 inhabitants, but approximately 400,000 people travel around the city daily, which causes one of the biggest congestion in Europe. It is estimated that 30 countries in the world have access to free collective transportation in the least one city. The country with the largest number of cities with collective transportation in the USA, followed by Poland. Brazil occupies the third place, with a total of 15 cities with free collective transportation. Among them are the cities of Pitanga, Ivaiporã, and Volta Redonda. This means less than 1% of all Brazilian cities are capable to offer free public transportation to their citizens.
The Free Pass movement is a non-partisan, horizontal, and independent autonomous social movement that fights for public transport that is truly free, free for the entire population and beyond the reach of private initiative. The MPL is a group of ordinary people who have been together for nearly a decade to discuss and fight for a better transportation project for the city. They are present in several Brazilian cities and are fighting for the effective democratization of access to the urban space and its zero tariffs service. The MPL main objective is the fight for public transportation and urban mobility. However, this does not mean that the members of the movement do not act in pursuit of other rights. The MPL has partnerships with several autonomous movements and helps in discussion of various guidelines. They have fought important battles alongside the MTST, the DAR Collective, and the UBES, for example. The most expressive moments in MPL's history were the protests in June 2013, also known as Jornadas de Junho, a movement that started with the MPL's protests against tariff increases and ended with more than 1.25 million citizens taking the streets to express their dissatisfaction with the current governments. The Jornadas de Junho ended up being one of the most significant movements in Brazilian contemporary history, and its consequences echoes to this day.
June 2013 was marked by an MPL protest in Joinville. The demonstration was peaceful, without any traces of confusion or vandalism, and according to the military police, reunited more than 10,000 people. The concentration began before 5 p.m., with MPL members and workers who were under curious stares from shopkeepers and people who were trying to catch the last bus. The number of protesters grew up with the arrival of a group of young students, who, for the most part, had never been to a protest and were anxious to express themselves. The most marking moment in the demonstration was the capture of the bus station. At around 7:20 p.m., people were running and shouting the terminal is ours. 200 police officers stood around the manifestation. Their work has caused moments like this to happen smoothly. More than 300 meters away, the protesters made another conquest. The crowd invades the front of the city hall. Many young people take photos, historical moments in their lives. After that, the MPL went to the city council. The crowd went to the bridge near the Sambaqui Museum. Later, the feel of the people was mixed in a festive atmosphere. At 10 p.m., after police officers dealt with a group that wanted to stay, the buses returned to the station. The struggle for free public transportation with quality isn't exclusive to Brazil. Movements similar to the Free Pass movement can be found all over the world, and more specific in countries like Belgium, Poland, New Zealand, Italy, USA, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. The results of their fight can be seen in the advancement in the quality of the public transport and the reduction of the tariff prices. In Hasselt, Belgium, after the introduction of the zero tariff policy, the use of public transport increased immediately and remained high, being now 10 times greater compared to the previous period.
The positive effects on traffic will only exist as more people use a bus and do not use cars. By definition, those who use a car can pay for it, and the cost of using a car on a daily basis is much higher than the attach of a bus ticket. It is not the cost that has led people prefer cars or buses, but the lower quality of the public transportation. As the improvement of the system whole depends on the massive public investment, gratuity would only become effective as a way to reduce traffic and a large interest in the system current open cost. Therefore, we have a lot of the person for various points. On the fitness of the cost, the purpose to reduce revenue earned from tariffs to zero, increase demand, and as a way to obtain positive effects in the traffic. Drastically increase the number of lines and buses in each line, maintaining or expanding the existing technical quality. All these codes would be passed on the society by means of the which on the thing would play in the others, since the companies would be free of the legal obligation to pay transportation voucher, but most likely the cost of the tax would be much higher than this expense. Taxes result in an inefficient economic development. The collection of direct resources from the tariff collection would fall to zero, transforming the current situation of partial subsidy in another, of total subsidy, as in a public, schools and health care facility of the SUS. The full cost of the operation would be borne by the municipality. The demand for the service would greatly increase. In this case, it is very difficult to distinguish of crazy or pent-up demand. Demands people who today do not have access to transport due to price, from cash to unnecessary use. Use of transport for small distances, normally, made on foot, of example,